evening and welcome to the 611th episode of Travel Itch. I'm Dan Schlossberg and we are in the 14th season of Travel Itch Radio, the show that lets you enjoy the pleasures of travel from the comfort of your armchair. Every week at this time, we talk to people representing destinations, hotels, airlines, railroads, car rental companies, and others in the world of travel and hospitality, from authors and bloggers to broadcasters and publicists. If it's got anything to do with travel, it's got everything to do with Travel Itch. Our guest today is Jennifer Bowes, Executive Director of the Greater Wilmington Convention and Visitors Bureau. Welcome, Jen, to the new video version of Travel Itch Radio.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Glad to do it. Delaware is called the first state because it was the first of the original British colonies to ratify the U.S. Constitution in 1787. And next year, you're planning big celebrations for the 250th anniversary of the United States, the semi-quincentennial. What is planned both in Delaware and in the greater Wilmington area?
Well, there's going to be a lot going on. I know for one, the state of Delaware is going to be having a big celebration that's going to span the whole state, but it's going to culminate at our riverfront in greater Wilmington. The details are under wraps, but I know it's something that nobody's going to want to miss because we want to make a big impression. And also, another thing that I learned today, there's going to be an exhibition at the Delaware Art Museum called Citizen Art. And I wasn't aware until today that in the past, our federal government had funded art projects basically to create jobs in times of economic insecurity and high levels of unemployment. And so the Delaware Art Museum is going to display some of the art that came out of this. It's literally like hundreds of thousands of pieces. They obviously won't have all of them, but it's going to be pretty impressive.
Well, many of the colonial era structures are still standing, including the site where Delaware representatives voted for independence. Tell us about it, please.
So that is the historic Old Newcastle Courthouse, and that is where the break from Pennsylvania and Britain happened prior to the actual Declaration of Independence. It's now open as a museum.
An even older building that's still standing dates back to the 17th century. Isn't it the oldest continuously operating Anglican Episcopal church in the country?
Oh, Emmanuel Episcopal Church. That's correct. That's a beautiful church, also in historic Newcastle.
A great example of federal style architecture was the Reed House, built by George Reed's son, George Reed III, and his father, I believe, was a man who signed both the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. Is that right?
That is correct. It's a beautiful home. It's been written up by lots of home and garden magazines over the years.
We also understand it has a great view of the beautiful Delaware River.
Yes, it's right across the street from the Delaware River, and across is a grassy field also owned by the Reed House property. So you get a very nice view of the river. And I've heard from the roof, there's like a deck on the roof. I've never been up there. You can see as far as New Jersey.
I hope so, because that's my home state. That's where I'm coming to you from tonight. And here, by the way, is the Delaware state flag and the United States flag. They're getting ready for next year's celebrations. Should be lots of fun.
Lots of fun.
We can't overlook our first president. I remember seeing signs that said, George Washington slept here. And that's true at the Amstel House, where he once was a wedding guest.
Yeah, that's a neat story, and they actually commemorate it with a plaque that's in front of the fireplace in the house. Very old, almost as old as that dates back to the actual wedding, and it has George Washington's name and also the date of the wedding. And there's a chair in the Amstel House that they think is the chair that George Washington sat in when he attended that wedding.
Okay, and Delaware, as we mentioned, was the first state, and there's a little emblem that says Park Ranger First State. National Historic Park. So they're all set. Everybody's set for that celebration. And William Penn, founder of Pennsylvania State at the Mercury House, also still standing in historic Newcastle. We hear it's a great place to celebrate early American history.
Yes, that's in a building that dates back to the 1600s. They serve breakfast, lunch, dinner, really wonderful teas, and they have a really nice cocktail list as well. And you can get a really nice feel for the colonial environment because that's the way that it's decorated. They've kind of kept that feel of the building.
Can't people taste and sample early American history at Jessup's Tavern, where the food and the waitstaff remind patrons of colonial times?
Yeah, Jessup's is just a few doors down from the Mercury Tea House. And the servers, the bartender, they all dress up in colonial garb. And the food is also inspired by colonial times. One of my favorite things is the shepherd's pie.
Oh, that sounds good. Do they have peanut soup too? I remember that from Philadelphia, one of the places like that.
I'm not sure if they have peanut soup or not. I'll have to check it out next time I'm there.
Okay. Speaking of Newcastle, the old Newcastle courthouse is where Delaware representatives voted for independence, as you mentioned a minute ago. Doesn't it also predate the start of the Revolutionary War?
Yes, so this is a pretty interesting story. So the original courthouse dates back to the 1600s, but it burned. There was a prisoner, I think he was accused of stealing bread, and he was in one of the cells below the courthouse, and he escaped, set the courthouse on fire, and it burned to the ground. But unfortunately, his escape was not successful, and he was executed.
Separation Day is going to be a highlight of next year's celebration, Jen. Doesn't it mark the separation of Delaware from both Pennsylvania and the British Crown? And didn't it happen 2 weeks before the Declaration of Independence was signed?
That is correct. I believe it was a little more than 2 weeks. But yeah, Separation Day is a great event. They're going to do it up really well in 2026 because that's also the 250th anniversary of Delaware.
Okay. Is there a specific date that you know?
It's Friday. Yes, it's Friday and Saturday. I believe it's June 12th and 13th.
Right. It's usually held early in June, so that's great. And do you know where it'll be celebrated and what will be going on that day?
It's always celebrated in historic Newcastle, where we separated from England and Pennsylvania at the same time. There's a big parade that's colonial themed. They've got rides for the kids. This year, they're going to have a Delaware-inspired artisan market that I'm really looking forward to visiting, a beer garden, and then they cap it all off with a great fireworks display over the river at night.
Oh, that sounds really great.
Yeah.
And want to tell our viewers that this is Travel Itch with Dan Schlossberg. We are on our 14th season, live at 5 New York time every Thursday. We're on LinkedIn, YouTube, WhatsApp, X, and Facebook, among others. And we're talking with Jen Bowes of the Greater Wilmington CVB about Delaware and the 250th anniversary of the United States. Jen, let's talk about some of the other northern Delaware places with Revolutionary War ties. How about the Grand Opera House? Wasn't that once a hospital?
So the Grand Opera House sits on the site of a hospital. The hospital isn't there any longer, but it served both sides. It treated both sides during the Revolutionary War. And now on the spot is the Grand, which is one of our grand performance houses here in Greater Wilmington, Delaware.
What is the importance of the Hale Burns House?
So that is where an important council of war was held ahead of the Battle of the Brandywine, which was the largest battle in the Revolutionary War, just over the line in Pennsylvania. George Washington was there, and the Hale Burns House, I just also found this out today, has a truth tree. I think it's not in very good shape, but the truth tree means that it was standing when George Washington visited there for his council of war.
And what is now the University of Delaware campus has another place frequented by George Washington, the Deer Park Tavern. Wasn't that once an inn where GW actually did sleep here?
We believe he slept there. We know for sure that his soldiers did. And it's a great spot, the Deer Park. It was, as you said, an inn back in those days. And today it's a watering hole because it's right on the campus of University of Delaware practically for students.
And what about Edgar Allan Poe? Didn't he slip in the mud outside and put a curse on the building?
Yes, that's a good story. So apparently he was in town for a lecture at what is now the University of Delaware. And when he stepped out of his carriage, he slipped in the mud, and he was so angry that, he put a curse on the inn, the Deer Park Tavern now. Yeah.
Only one Revolutionary War battle actually took place in Delaware, the Battle of Couch's Bridge. The seventh generation of the Couch family still lives at the house, which is open for tours when not undergoing renovations. Do visitors need reservations?
They do. And actually, the Couches don't live there anymore, but you're correct. 7 generations did live there. The reason that you need renovations is they're doing some what do we call this? Archaeology, you know what I mean. They're doing some
archaeological.
That's it. That's the word I'm looking for there. I know. And then they're also doing some upgrades to the property because it's a farm. It has a farmhouse, an ice house, a chicken coop, but that's also where, yes, the Battle of Cooch's Bridge took place.
What is the story with liquid alchemy? Wasn't it produced in England during the Revolutionary War, but sold on a limited basis in the colonies because of a honey shortage? Something about bees not being native to the U.S.?
Yes. So Liquid Alchemy is a meadery that we have here in Greater Wilmington. They have 22 different types of mead. Main ingredient of mead, as you may know, is honey, and they also make cider. But yes, I didn't realize that either until recently. The honeybee, specifically the honeybee, is actually from Europe, and it was introduced to the US in the 1600s by the Europeans, and I guess the bees hadn't had time to kind of populate, so there wasn't enough honey really here at that time to make much mead.
We're talking with Jen Bowes of the Greater Wilmington CVB about the 250th anniversary of the United States and what they're going to do in Delaware. Jen, you represent Greater Wilmington, which has many sites of its own and is just a half hour from Philadelphia, home of Independence Hall, the Liberty Bell, and so much more. Would you recommend Wilmington as an add-on for any visitors planning to celebrate the 250th in Philadelphia?
Absolutely, because as you said, we're so close to one another and our histories are really entwined. So I think that it would be a nice companion to any trip to Philadelphia.
And I know from having done it that it's very easy just to hop on the train in Philly and get to Wilmington and come back the same way.
Exactly. So you can take Amtrak, or SEPTA is another good option, the commuter rail.
What, where, and when is the FIFA World Cup, and how many people are coming?
So the FIFA World Cup starts in the middle of June and it ends in the middle of July. 16 North American cities are included. All of them are going to have games. Philadelphia, I believe, is going to have 6 of those games, and they're expecting over 500,000 people over the course of the tournament.
Wow.
So
Pardon my ignorance, but that's soccer, right?
Yeah. So for people that are unfamiliar, it's like, I liken it to the Olympics of soccer, but it's just soccer. So it's every country has a team and they all play to try to earn the world title of soccer.
Is this something that's every 4 years or something like that, or is it every year?
Correct. It's every 4 years. So it's a pretty big world event happening in 2026.
So it's comparable to something like the World Baseball Classic every 3 years.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Except this soccer, I know we're more of a baseball, football country, but soccer is extremely popular worldwide.
Okay. I also know that the 2026 Baseball All-Star Game is going to be in Philadelphia, Citizens Bank Park, in mid-July. So that will bring several 100,000 sports fans to town. And I know you're hoping to get some of those to come to Wilmington.
Very exciting, yes. And I do believe we will because of our proximity. And also there's a lot going on in Philadelphia in 2026. So yeah, we'd be happy to accommodate anyone who wants to stay in Greater Wilmington for those events.
Well, I can encourage people to go to Philadelphia to go to the Museum of the American Revolution and learn all the things that Delaware contributed, because there's a lot. And that'll make you come up to Wilmington and Newcastle. So that's one way to do it.
Yes.
I love that museum. It's an unsung hero of Philadelphia museums.
Yeah, and Philadelphia has some great museums.
Is there a good way to get back and forth from Wilmington? We mentioned the train. Is that the best?
I would say, yeah, I would say SEPTA, the commuter rail, is the best because it's very inexpensive. You don't need a reservation. And we have 3 different SEPTA stations. There are also Amtrak stations here in Northern Delaware.
Okay, the streetcars don't go from Philadelphia to Wilmington, do they?
No, they don't. It's just SEPTA and then, of course, Amtrak. Amtrak is the fastest.
Okay. The Greater Wilmington CVB website has a great 3-day itinerary that includes all the sites we discussed today and more. Could you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so you don't have to do the planning if you come here to experience the 250th. So we've pulled together all of the major attractions that we have here in the state with some ties to the Revolution. And it's right on our website, the itinerary. You can just tap onto it and follow it.
Is there also a calendar of special events and exhibitions relating to the American Revolution and the 250th? And how about a timeline of that period in Delaware?
Correct. So we have a specific calendar just for the 250th. We have an overall calendar, but then we have the one specifically for the 250th that's on our 250th microsite. And you'd be surprised how many events are already on that. And I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part of your question.
Oh, I'd like to know about special events and exhibitions and a timeline of that period, of the Revolutionary War period.
Oh, the events are going to be taking place from now all the way through 2026. Oh, and I see what you're saying. Yes, we have a timeline on that site, the 250th site, that runs through all the important dates related to Northern Delaware and the Revolution.
Okay.
It's great.
We're talking with Jen Bowles of the Greater Wilmington CVB about the 250th anniversary of the United States and what they're going to do in Delaware specifically. We hear your office is also producing an update of its Brandywine Treasure Trail Passport next spring. How can viewers find it and what is it?
So what the passport is it's a one price ticket to 12 of our biggest attractions. Very low cost. The family passport is a value of almost $600 and it costs $99. So you can use the passport from the end of May through the end of October every year. We're going to be releasing a special 250th themed passport, and it's going to come out in November. You can buy it right on our website, visitwilmingtonde.com. And how that's going to differ from the regular passport is each of the 12 attractions is going to have a special exhibition related to the Revolution or evolution. So it isn't just limited to Revolutionary War history.
And here's some really good news. Passport users who visit a certain number of attractions will qualify for special rewards and prizes. Can you give us some examples?
So each time a passport user visits one of the attractions that's included, they get a stamp on their passport. And when they have accumulated a certain number of stamps, they're going to qualify for different types of prizes. For example, 250th branded swag, Greater Wilmington swag, things like that.
Our viewers would like to know where you were born and raised, where you went to school, and what your job was before you joined the CVB.
So I was born and raised in Georgetown, Delaware, which is in the southern part of the state, about 20 minutes from our beaches. I went to school at the University of Delaware, so I'm a lifelong Delawarean. And prior to joining the Bureau, I worked for 15 years at Nancy Marshall Communications, which is a marketing and communications firm located in Maine.
Okay, that's how I know you, Nancy Marshall.
Yeah,
She does a great job. Yeah.
Yes, she does.
Okay. Is there anything I haven't asked you that you would like to add?
I'd just like to get the word out again about our website, visitwilmingtonde.com. That's where people can find all of the information related to the 250th and a lot more.
It's going to be a very big deal, and I look forward to coming myself because it's an easy hop for me from New Jersey.
Yeah, we look forward to having you.
Thank you very much. Our guest today on Travel Edge has been Jennifer Bowles of the Greater Wilmington Convention and Visitors Bureau. Thank you, Jen, for visiting with us.
Thanks for having me, Dan.
Okay. And enjoy the 250th.
I will. You too.
Okay. And viewers, now that the baseball pennant races are down to a precious few final days, this is the perfect time to share the excitement with my latest book, The New Baseball Bible. Notes, nuggets, lists, and legends from our national pastime. Both a bathroom book and a coffee table book. It's an unorthodox illustrated history that is really everything you wanted to know about baseball or afraid to ask. That's The New Baseball Bible. Get it today on Amazon.com. And that's it from this edition of Travel Edge Radio. This is your host and writer, Dan Schlossberg, saying thank you for your time this time. Until next time, we'll return in 2 weeks with Corey Jobe to talk about the 100th anniversary of Route 66 in Southern Illinois. For now, good night and stay safe.
All right, we good?